Hi friends, this is Dr. Mark Sherwood back with you again as we complete our discussions of the 27 amendments to the United States Constitution. I truly thank and commend you for staying with us because you also realize the urgency of respecting our constitutional rights, which requires that all our elected officials understand them and abide by their oaths. Together, we will defeat Kevin Stitt in the GOP primary on June 28th. As your next governor, you can depend upon me to fully implement everything we have covered in these talks beginning on day one. The final existing amendments to the U.S. Constitution are numbers 25, 26, and 27, which were ratified between 1967 and 1992. In a few months, we will have passed 30 years since the most recent one. Amendment 25. This amendment addresses succession to the presidency and establishes procedures both for filling a vacancy in the office of the vice president and responding to presidential disabilities. Ratified February the 10th, 1967. After that dark day of November 22nd, 1963, when President John Fitzgerald Kennedy was tragically assassinated, it became obvious that there needed to be a constitutional amendment to cover the succession to the presidency under extraordinary circumstances. It was also necessary to provide for a new vice president when the existing one assumes the role of president. Now, at that time, President Richard Nixon actually was overwhelmingly reelected in the general election in 1972. Vice President Spiro Agnew resigned October 10, 1973. Former Michigan Congressman Gerald Ford was sworn in as the new vice president on December 6, 1973. When Nixon resigned on August 8, 1974, Ford became the only person to ever become president who was neither elected as vice president or president. So we have seen two ways in which a president can leave office before the end of their term: death, as in the case of JFK, and resignation, as with Nixon. But now, with Joe Biden's deteriorating mental capacity, there is much talk about the 25th Amendment being used to declare him incompetent. This would take action by Vice President, Cabinet, and or Congress. It is very likely the Democrats will engineer this scheme to their greatest advantage. Alternatively, Vice President Harris could resign. Biden could nominate a new VP to be confirmed by Congress. Then he himself could resign, and whoever his handlers select would become the unelected 47th President of the United States. This is not very telling. This is not telling them anything they don't already know. Just keep your eyes and ears open, folks. Every conservative who is a keen observer does not expect Joe Biden to complete this term in office. He's spending more and more time in his basement in Delaware lately. This does not bode well for America. Amendment 26. This prohibits the denial of the right of the U.S. citizens 18 years of age or older to vote on account of age. Ratified July 1st, 1971. A person I know turned 18 before the election of 1968, but was unable to vote for president because the 26th Amendment was not passed until 1971. So his first vote was for Richard Nixon in 1972. However, 18 is a reasonable age for the vote because at 18, one can also serve in the United States military. If they can go to war and protect our country, they certainly have the right to have a say in who is elected as their own commander-in-chief. However, suggestions that the voting age should be lowered even more to 16 are not advisable. We already have voters who were born after the terror attacks of 9/11/2001. They came to this world when George W. Bush was president, and the first president they would remember would be Obama. They simply have not had the life experience required for such a crucial decision as who should be president of the United States. Amendment 27. This one delays laws affecting congressional salary from taking effect until after the next election of representatives. May 5th, 1992. This final amendment is very straightforward and common sense. Nobody and I mean nobody, should be able to vote themselves a pay raise. As we conclude this series of discussions, we need to consider a couple of important factors. Many have proposed a 28th Amendment which would impose term limits. I would fully support that, but would add to it age limits so that no one over age 80 should be allowed to begin a new term in office at any level of government anywhere in the United States. The United States Constitution also provides for a convention of states. Many today are calling for precisely that. There is much need for reform. Our system of government is broken. The Constitution is still there, but it becomes nothing more than a parchment guarantee when all three branches of American government ignore their oath and uphold and defend it. Now, after the U.S. Constitution had been written, a lady asked wise old Benjamin Franklin what form of government we have been given. His response, a republic, if you can keep it. Perhaps a convention of states may be in order at some point, but there are other constitutional scholars the caliber of James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, John Adams, or Thomas Jefferson still alive today? If so, a constitution would be a good thing. A constitution convention would be a good thing. But if not, it could violate the axiom to never fix what isn't broken. To use an analogy, if you're not an IT expert, be very careful about going into systems files on your own computer because you may not be able to undo something that you did by mistake. Our U.S. Constitution has endured over the centuries, and for good reason. This procedure to amend the Constitution was purposely made very complex. Basically, it requires a 2/3 vote by both chambers of Congress plus 3/4 of the states to ratify a new amendment. That's why only 17 amendments have been passed since the Bill of Rights. Only 15 since the time of our founding generation. None in the last 30 years. Folks, thank you, all of you, for staying with us during this discussion of all of the amendments. I will leave you with this promise as your next governor of Oklahoma. I will ensure that our state is always on the right side of history. We do not want to just be a top 10 state in anything, as Kevin suggests. Neither OU nor OSU wants to finish number 10 at the end of the season. Oklahoma will always be a leader among the states when you elect Governor Mark Sherwood. God bless Oklahoma. God bless the United States of America.